If you want to learn more about all of the archetypes, also known as the classes, in Ashes of Creation, then this video is for you. I do want to call out though that at the time of the recording of this video, we are just approaching Alpha 2 Phase 3 of the game. So there's a very good chance that the overall visuals might change while you create your character. But again, when we're talking about the overall classes, all of these will remain the same long term. So let's just go ahead and jump right into it. As you create your character, you can choose the race. Again, this does not really have any impact on your archetype. So we're just going to skip onto that and jump into the good stuff. Let's start with the first archetype, which is the Bard. Essentially, as a Bard, you are a form of a support player because you can cast unique spells to not only dish off a decent amount of damage on your enemies, but also buff your allies. What's interesting is that each different archetype has a unique set of skills, which basically is how you initiate combat and fight in this game. It's important to note too that once you select an archetype, you cannot change it. At level 25, you can choose a secondary class to kind of build upon and customize your skills a little bit further, but we're going to talk a little bit more about that towards the end of the video. Next up, we have the Cleric. This is essentially the healer class in Ashes of Creation, and just like all other healers and all other MMOs, you can heal your allies. But what's interesting is that you can actually also dish off a decent amount of damage in this class. So not only can you heal your allies, you can also dish off some damage, and most importantly, you can also revive fallen allies. This is a huge game changer because nobody wants to walk all the way back to wherever they died. You can revive them right on the spot. Next up, we have the Fighter archetype. This is your typical bruiser or warrior type of archetype. It initiates close combat. You typically will use some sort of one-handed sword and shield, or like a heavier two-handed greatsword and something along those lines. And you will be focused on getting up close and personal with your enemies, dishing off both single target and AoE bleeds, and just really focusing on damage output. Speaking about damage, we cannot forget about the Mage archetype. The Mage is essentially a glass cannon in this game currently. You can dish off tons and tons of unique elemental spells. Again, it's pretty unique because you can have frost spells, lightning spells, fire spells, and a little bit of everything. Again, huge damage output. However, you are a bit squishy. Next up, we have the Ranger. Just like the Mage archetype, you are a bit of a glass cannon, but you do have a little bit more of a unique skill set, in my opinion, because you can set traps, you can set marks on certain enemies to kind of grant certain buffs on yourself as well. And of course, you have the advantage of having some range with your bow and arrow as you take down enemies. Next up, there is the Tank archetype, which again, every group typically wants at least one tank just because they can take all of the damage up against all of the foes that you guys come across. So again, especially when it comes to PvE content, your tank will be the spotlight. The healers will likely be focusing on the tank as well, keeping them alive because they are doing God's work and basically taking all the damage from the mobs as you guys progress in PvE related content. Last but not least, we do have the Rogue archetype, which is the newest archetype added to the game. This one has been super fun. Typically, you use dual daggers and dish off tons and tons of fast damage, which is very up close and personal as well. You can see there's a handful of unique abilities too. You can even turn invisible in this class, which is super fun as well. There will be an 8th archetype that is joining the game known as the Summoner, but again, that is not currently in the game, but please note, this will be coming in Alpha 2 Phase 3, so keep your eyes open because the Summoner archetype will essentially allow you to summon creatures and unique mobs to do all the dirty work for you and take down your opponents. So keep your eyes peeled for that. And again, I'm just kind of messing around with the character creator, as you can tell. There is some customizing you can do to really personalize your character, but all of this will definitely change down the road. Now that we've talked about the 8 primary archetypes, I do want to move on to the next and probably the most important part of this video, which really gives you a higher level of how this class system is going to work in Ashes of Creation. And to be a little bit more specific, I'm talking about this chart right here. So, as I mentioned early in this video, once you hit level 25, you are actually going to have the option to choose a second class, which will alter your skins from your primary archetype. So, for example, if we're looking on the left side of the screen, and let's say, for example, I am a ranger when I create my character, and I've been grinding and grinding, and I hit level 25, eventually you'll be able to choose a secondary class. Let's say, for example, I select a summoner as my secondary class as a ranger. I will be considered a falconer. So chances are pretty high that you will essentially be able to use your ranger skills with a slight twist, which will allow you to maybe dish off some extra damage or have some sort of summoned mob alongside your abilities. Again, all of these specifics in regards to how these secondary classes impact your main archetype is still up in the air. However, this is confirmed in the direction the game is going. So please note that this is a work in progress. Things are going to change down the road. However, if we're looking at the big picture, this is how the class system will work. And essentially, there will be 64 different combinations. Just to make it crystal clear, too, your base class, as in the class you select while creating your character, cannot change unless you recreate a whole new character. However, that secondary class you choose at level 25, you will be able to alter and change if you want. There likely will be some sort of currency or gold amount that is going to lead to you costing some money to actually make that change. So it's not like you can do it quick and easy. So keep that in mind. However, you are not locked in. Lastly, it's important to note that those secondary archetypes are really just impacting your primary skills and adding a little bit of a twist to it. We are still waiting to hear more about what that twist is, but chances are high that your skills and the overall output of those skills will basically remain the same, but there's going to be a slight kind of adjustment to it. For example, if you're a fighter and you use the leap ability, and eventually your secondary class is the mage, maybe instead of leaping, you're teleporting and having a burst of fire upon wherever you teleport. Again, that's just a complete guess, but again, that's kind of the overall concept and the direction that they're headed today. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like it and consider subscribing to my channel because I'll be having a lot more content around Ashes of Creation coming up soon. Thanks again, and I'll catch you guys later.